Hey guys, so basically I'm going to go through Unit 7 stats notes. We did 3 days of notes, and hopefully this will give you some clarity for how you should, approach your quizzes and your test retakes and your project, whatever you kind of need it for. But I wanted you to have a background of what we did in class because it's been about 2.5 to 3 weeks. So here we go. On day 1, we talked about a lot of vocabulary, and we started with this graphic organizer. All right, I already filled in some important parts from the graphic organizer, so let's start here. Our minimum, which is your lowest number, your first quartile is basically your first 25%. Your median is also known as your second quartile, so that's basically the middle. That's 50% of your data. Your third quartile is your third piece of your data, which is also 75%, and your maximum is your highest number. Your interquartile range, we talked about a little bit, but we didn't really use it too often. It's also called your IQR. That's basically your third quartile minus your first quartile. And your outliers mean very far out numbers or values, meaning if the number is too low for the data or too high for the data, that would be an outlier. We have 3 measures of central tendency over here. The mean, you see there in parentheses, there's the symbol mu or the X with the line over top. We use that in our calculator, so if you're using the TI or any of that, that's what you'll be looking for. I'm going to show you later how to do this in Desmos. But your mean is your values added, then divided by the quantity. So you add all the values together, divide by however many numbers you have. Your median is your middle value, once they're in order from least to greatest, and your mode is the most frequent. All right, the spread of your data, the range is your max minus the min. Your standard deviation is your average spread from the mean. Okay, so let's take a look at this box and whisker plot. On this box and whisker plot, we can fill out what we know. And based on the data that we will receive, these 2 lines here represent your whiskers. So to the far left would be your minimum, to the far right would be your maximum. Next, I always do my median because that is directly what's in between all of your data. And your first quartile is as if we're taking our first half of data and dividing by however many numbers we have. It's basically finding the median of the first half. So this would be your first quartile, and this would be your third quartile. Okay, so that IQR we were just talking about is here. Okay, this is your IQR. It is your third quartile minus the first quartile. All right, so in terms of percentages, if we're ever talking about the lower 50%, the lower 25%, what that means is in this box and whisker plot, each piece here is worth 25%. It doesn't matter how big the data is, how small the data is, we know that each piece is going to be 25%. So that means from the minimum to my median is your lower 50% because each piece is worth 25. From my minimum to my third quartile would be your lower 75% because we're doing 25 plus 25 plus 25. And then if I did my first quartile to my max, that would be my upper 75%. All right, so there's an example here for you. Let me just get my camera right. All right, so in this example, let's see here. They gave us the number of boxes of donuts, that were sold for a fundraiser. Okay, so all these numbers, let me get my highlighter. All these numbers were given to us. As we did in class, the first thing we want to do is put everything in least to order form. So in our example, it's already listed for us. It's already in least to greatest. All right, this is my minimum, 14. 17 is my first quartile. My median, or my second quartile, is 21. Third quartile is 28. And my max is 35. So I'm going to put dots on my plot down here. So my minimum is 14. I put a dot there. My max is 35, so I'm going to go between 34 and 36 and put a dot. All right, we know that the second quartile is also known as your median. So 21, and I like to do dotted lines there. That's my median. Okay. My first quartile is 17, which is there. And my third quartile is 28, which is here. All right, so to make my box skin whisker plot, I am going to draw a box around my first quartile and my third quartile. And then my whiskers are made by attaching my data to the min and the max. So here we are. If I wanted to label my box and whisker plot, this would be the min, first quartile, quartile 2, or also known as the median, my third quartile, and my max. All right, so the other type of plot we learned about was a stem and leaf plot. So we're not going to go through this example as we did in class, but I am going to, touch on the important parts here. A stem and leaf plot, we have two sets of data here. Okay, we have Shay's class and Luis's class. Okay, two different sets. What's important here is that my stem is basically in my 10 spot. So just like it says 9 line 2 stands for 92. So this stem is the 5. This leaf is the 9. So this would be 59. The second line would be 62, 64, 68. Okay. If we looked at Shay's class, this would be 57, 58, 64, 69, 70, 70, 71. Okay, we're always going back to that stem. All right, so in this case, I'm going to show you that, okay, let's say that we're writing down Shay's class. This was class 1. The data was 57, 58, 64, 69, 70, 70, 71, and so on and so on and so on. We're going to use Desmos to fill out what all these values mean. Okay? So let's first turn to our actual notes that we did in class. All right, and we had an example. Our example says, on a recent test, students of a math class earned the grades shown below. Calculate the mean, median, mode, and range of the class. Okay, so what we did in the past was that we would put these numbers in order from least to greatest, because doing that would allow me to answer these questions. But we are using Desmos. And with Desmos, you do not have to do that. Let me get my paperwork. Hold on one second. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring over my iPad so you can see Desmos from my screen. If you don't have Desmos yet, go ahead and download it from the App Store or wherever you get your apps from, depending on your platform. All right, and let's switch gears here for a second. make sure you can see my screen. All right, there we go. Okay, so example 1, they gave us all these different math scores from the students in class. What we are going to do to find the mean, median, mode, and range, we're going to find the mean and the median on Desmos. So what you're going to do is click Functions. Once you click Functions, you have all these different options: Trig, Stats, Distribution, and Miscellaneous. We're going to go to Stats. That's what we're working with. And I'm going to type, or I'm going to hit where it says Mean. Once that happens, you'll see in that first column there, mean with parentheses. Okay, so now I'm just going to type in all of these numbers. We're going to separate it by commas. So 84, 77, 97, 82, 65, 75, 84, 90, 72, 89, let's see, where am I? 72, 89, 92, 86, 89, 84, and 73. All right, so after I typed in all of those numbers, we are left with 82.6. Okay, so we know that our mean is 82.6. And I'm going to try to see if I can select all these numbers so I don't have to type them in again, but it looks like that may be difficult. Yeah, it's too hard. Okay, so next we are going to look and find the median. All right, I'm going to backspace, 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 hit Functions, and I'm going to go to median. All right, and my median is 84. For mode and range, we cannot find that on Desmos, but we know that the mode is the number that occurs the most. So we can look at our data, and our range will be our highest number subtracted from our lowest number, or our lowest number subtracted from the highest number, sorry. Okay, so let's switch gears again. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put those numbers in. All right, my mean, we said, was 82.6. My median was 84. The mode, the number that occurs the most, looks like it's going to be 84. Yeah, that occurs 3 times. So 84 is my mode. My range is my highest number, which is 97, minus my lowest number, which is 65. So that would be 32. Okay, so we're going to move on to example 2. Oh, sorry, I missed something. What if the value 25% was added into the data set? What would happen? So with these high numbers, meaning the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, 25 really is not really in the same area as those numbers. So that would be an outlier. It also means that the mean would be lower. If it's a low outlier, that means that that mean would be stretched down low. If it's a high outlier, the mean would be higher. All right, so we are going to move to example 2. which says to construct a box plot for the following data. All right, so typically what we did before Desmos, we would put this in order from least to greatest. We are not doing that. We're going to put these numbers into Desmos, and let's see what we get. So I'm going back to Desmos. And guys, just one more thing. If you're really struggling with the range, you actually can use the range on Desmos, but you have to kind of break it up into two different things. So let's say you want a backspace. With all those numbers, you would hit functions and you would hit max. Get rid of that extra parentheses. All right, so your max was 97. And let's say you want to find what the min would be. Get rid of that extra parentheses. So it just told us 97 minus 65, so your answer is 32. So you can do the range two different ways. All right, so based on our example here, example 2, we have the number 12, 12, 5, 22, 37, 36, 14, 42, 15, 53, and 25. Right, so these are all the numbers that were given to us, and I'm going to put them in parentheses. Okay, so first they asked for the minimum. We can scroll over. And it may be easier on your phones or your computer to just copy and paste, but I'm using my iPad and I'm not really spending too much time figuring out how to copy and paste here. But my minimum, I'm going to go to functions, under stats, type in min, get rid of the extra parentheses. My minimum is 3. Did I forget a number? Because that should not be the min. Yep. And make sure that you guys are double checking yourself, because as you see, I forgot. I typed in 3 instead of 53, and that will absolutely change my data. All right, so my minimum is actually 5. I'm going to scroll back to the front. And now we're going to find the max. All right, my max would be 53. All right, now to find your first quartile, let's go to functions. We're going to type in quartile. That parentheses comes up. We're going to add a bracket. Let's see what I can find. All right, there's a bracket. And then I slide down. I'm going to close my data with a bracket. Not sure why this is so difficult for me. And then comma. And because we're doing the first quartile, I'm going to type in 1. Okay, so that is how we do that. To find the third quartile, I'm going to change that 1 to a 3. And it brings up 36. And then if I want to find the median, I can go back to the front of my data. I'm going to delete, go to my functions, and for median, I'm going to just type in median. And my median is 22. So those are all the information that I need for now. Bear with me while I get used to this system we have here now. All right, so we're going to fill in what we know. All right, my minimum is 5. My max was 53. We could do that without Desmos, but it doesn't hurt to confirm. My first quartile was 12. My third quartile was 36. And my median was 22. Okay, so if I want to draw my box and whisker plot, I'm using this information. So my minimum's at 5. Max is at 53. My first quartile is 12. So these increments are basically going up by, looks like 2.5. So you can just kind of eyeball it a little bit. There's 12. 36 would be close to 35. And my median, which was 22, I'm going to draw here. So I'm going to try my best. It's not going to be the, well, that's pretty bad. But you guys get what I mean. And then there are my whiskers. Alright, so what is the market for the first 25%, or sorry, first 50% of the data? Well, this is 25%. This is 25%, 25%, and 25%. So it doesn't matter how big or small the sections are, they're equally known as 25% each. So what is the market for the first 50% of data? The marker would be from 5 to 22. That's the first 50. The lowest value is 5. The middle 50 is between, here's my middle 50, so it's between 12 and 36. What does the value 53 represent? That is your max. And what is the interquartile range? So my interquartile range is here, from first quartile to your third quartile. So that would be 36 minus 12, which gives us 24. Hey guys, hope this helps.